Good afternoon. So magandang hapon ulit, no, sa ating mga taga-subaybay. So we are now in our another session of the Kwentuhang Cybersecurity. And for this afternoon, it's a very interesting topic we have. We are going to discuss. It's a global menace, as we call it, and everyone is a target. Not only large enterprises, not only medium or not even small, not only small, but even the subscribers or the regular users like you and me. And the perpetrators are seemingly not in a way trying to victimize a certain industry, but this is all industry. Is a target. No? So for this afternoon, we have our technology partner, the Fortinet. They provided an expert on this topic, and Mr. Jonas Walker. He is a security strategist of FortiGuard Labs, and you are an offensive security certified professional, OSCP, and of course CISSP as well. Right? I never took that certification because I don't like taking exams for 4 hours. I prefer the 30 minutes or 45 minutes max. So just a little background about Jonas. So he is a passionate cybersecurity professional. Like us, we are also passionate, di ba, Louis?
Of course.
Of course. And of course, si VP Sheila is also very passionate. And why is VP Mia not turning on her webcam? No? And with more than 8 years of expertise in networking and security. So Jonas loves technology and lives in Asia's technology capital, Singapore. So you love technology. Well, we do love technology. Also, we love other things like golf. Like
Totally agree.
Okay, so let's not waste our time. Jonas is definitely the guy to talk to when it comes to this ransomware issue right now. No? Do you have a presentation, Jonas? A short presentation?
Yes, I do. Thanks for having me, Angel. And my idea or my preparation for today is I actually prepared a small presentation where I show a little bit about the landscape of ransomware. How does it affect all of us? And then also I want to highlight how does it actually happen that these threat actors gaining access to all of our systems, because we always talk about ransomware here, ransomware there, but I think it's very important that we also understand how do they get the initial access to our systems. So with that being said, I do spend quite a lot of time on these underground forums to understand what's going on. And what I see very often these days is that it's not one single person or one single entity who's doing all the damage. Very often the bad guys, they work very much together. And I saw some of the recent webinars which you do every single Friday, and you talked a lot about collaboration on the defensive side, on the good side. And the thing why it's so important is that the bad guys are doing the same on the offensive side. So one guy who maybe has access to someone's computer goes to these underground markets and is like, hey, I don't have the expertise for deploying all the ransomware. I don't want to deal with the negotiation, with like giving them support, exfiltrating all the data, and do all these different things which are important during these ransomware attacks. He's maybe the expert in just getting access into some corporate networks, and then he wants to work with someone together. And then you have these big ransomware groups who are like, hey, you seem like the right guy for us because we provide the ransomware as a service model and you have initial access. So why don't we work together? And in the end, we split the revenue. And this is how it looks in real life. So this is just from a couple of days ago. You see July 21st. And these are like advertisements on the darknet markets. They're like certain individuals who are mentioning, hey, this is the market which I'm interested in. It has to be in this geolocation. It has to be this amount of revenue for this company. And sometimes they also mention what kind of companies they're not interested in. So for example, medicine is a field which we sometimes see to be avoided because they don't want to attack hospitals where people die. But some others, they don't really care. For them, it's just about making money. And for example, when we also see new vulnerabilities on the field, we see immediately our lab, we see a lot of requests against these kind of vulnerabilities. So this is a known vulnerability, which is announced to the public and is expected to patch their systems. But if people don't patch their systems immediately, we see again on these darknet markets, hey, I was able to gain access to someone's computer because his system was not patched. Who is interested to work with me? So they start selling these access to these corporations, to others who then use the access, go there, deploy the ransomware and make a lot of money. And this is obviously a very big problem. So we do have this landscape where we have individuals who, for example, develop the ransomware, but they don't do the attack by themselves. Maybe they are senior developers, they come up with new ideas, new features, similar like we are used to software development for different kind of purposes on the good side. So they provide new services, new features to make the software, in this case, the malware or the ransomware, more secure. And then they sell it to others who then use this kind of ransomware to attack other people. And this industry is growing and growing a lot because all of our systems are connected to the internet, are a possible target of this big attack surface. And there's so much money to be made for these attackers. So I don't see anytime soon that they will stop, because the more money they can make with all these attacks remotely, the more likely it is they will work together and collaborate and go against their potential victims to make as much money as possible. Now, I want to show you as well a little bit what happens during the negotiations, because imagine your company is getting breached and now someone was able to deploy some ransomware on the system. Sooner than later, these guys will get in touch with you. Initially, when a company gets hacked, very often people are not aware about it. But once ransomware is deployed on the system, everyone knows about it because systems go offline or locked. They show error messages, hey, you need to pay this amount of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency to us, so we give you the decryption key. So during this phase, there's always a lot of negotiation, and this is how it usually starts. The attackers let their victims know, hey, this is what we did to you, these are the amount of systems, and this is the proof. Here you can see some screenshot, here's the data we were able to steal from you, and we want you to pay us some money, or otherwise we either sell the data on the internet, we might interact directly with your customers and let them know that you practice bad security, or we just leave your systems completely encrypted and you cannot work anymore in the nearable future. So what happens next is these threat actors have top-notch support because they want to make sure their victims, here on the left side in the screenshot, are capable of paying the ransom. So the threat actors provide quite good support and explaining, hey, these are the amount of machines which we encrypted. Based on market value, it has this amount of value to us, and please send it in the next couple of hours. And then it's very interesting to see how these people start interacting with each other, because pretty much on the right side, we have the threat actor blackmailing the victim on the left side, but the conversation in this case is not really, it's not getting really offensive. They together try to find a solution because the victim is arguing, hey, 10 million, this seems a lot of money, you promised me a special price. And then the one who is in power here, the attacker, is letting him know, hey, it's still cheaper than paying lawsuits, your customers going through the competition, the reputation loss, the loss of the leakage of the data, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have this conversation which goes left and right, where the victim tells him, hey, 10 million is just too much for us. If we pay this amount of money, we go bankrupt anyway. So there's no reason for us to pay that amount. And sooner than later, they negotiate a little bit and find a solution where the money is getting paid more often than not. So they get their data back. And the threat actor in the end is even telling them, hey, these are potential security solutions which you should consider so this doesn't happen in the future again. Sometimes it's also a little bit more offensive where they put a lot of pressure on you. They hack you and they tell you, hey, you need to pay 4 or 5 million in the next couple of days. And this is obviously not something very easy because there are a lot of business processes involved and they put a lot of pressure on people in these support portals. What I will show you now is how these threat actors are actually gaining access to these environments, because this is something which I think is very important to understand, because more often than not, these are not super sophisticated attacks. Very often these are phishing emails, these are bad credentials which are used on remote desktop services, and I want to show you how it works right now. The thing is though, this is a little bit double-edged. Offensive security is used from the good side, but also from the bad side. From the good side, it's used to check our systems, how well are they protected, what do we need to fix. But exactly the same techniques are used by the bad guys to get access to our systems. So I want to highlight that whatever I show you here is done in my lab, and I would not recommend doing any of this, even if it's just for fun with some friends or some colleagues at work, because it's highly illegal. So just please keep in mind, a lot of people go daily to jail because they get caught doing these kind of attacks against corporations. With that being said, let us start with one of the most common ones, which is a phishing attack. So I think all of us receive emails with attachments where someone is promising, please download this document, I have some information for you. And I will show you how easy it is to create these attacks. First of all, what a lot of people don't know is that Office documents like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they are capable of running code. So I want to keep this very basic, but I show here that whatever message I put in here, for example, greetings, PICSPro, can be used to send a message and use Word to run any kind of command. Let me download this file and give it a simple name like demo. And then I will show you how it looks if you open this file for the first time. Let's imagine you get this file via email the very first time. And you see here on the top, you have this enable content. So very often people would not click on it. But if they do, they get, for example, a message or whatever kind of code I want to run with Office Word. So what attackers are doing, instead of putting this message in here where I just show a random pop-up message, they put a lot of different malicious code in here. And I prepared, for the time reason, some malicious code in advance, which I will use now to connect to my computer if you open this Word file. So all I will do is I will exchange this message and close it again. So now, imagine you will get an email and you have this attachment. No one will open that, or rather a very few amount of people will open this Word file and click on this enabled macro button, because it doesn't really look like it has a purpose. So what attackers are doing, they try to make it as believable as possible. So for example, what they do is they customize this Word file. They might change the background to something which looks a little bit more similar like a Windows device. So they add some color. Maybe they add some pictures. For example, they add Microsoft Defender, because this already looks, this might be from Microsoft. Maybe they add a message like, this document is protected by Windows Defender. Please click enable content. Make it a little bit bigger. Make it white, not red. Put it in the center. And let's say, please enable content to view it all. And then last but not least, they explain how it works, add another picture of the file in here, change it a little bit so it looks more believable. And then when people get this document for the first time, it's more likely, hey, this looks familiar. It's from Microsoft. It says it's protected by the file. And if I open this, I will see whatever information is in there. So what they're doing next is they might change the name to something which has a big impact on our daily life. So let's assume all of us are in a lockdown right now. So what is something which is really interesting to us? It might be something, how do we continue working after the lockdown? So maybe they let the document give you the name like work from home policy, and then send you an email with this document now and put in a nice story about, hey, this is our HR VP. He lets us know that for the foreseeable future, this is how we should work from home after the lockdown is over. So they really try to keep your interest rising. So you will actually click on this document in the end. So that's actually what they're trying to do. Now, I will show you later what happens when you click on it directly, but I want to show another use case, which I see very often, how these actors get access to our environments. And I was talking a lot with Louis before, in the last couple of months, 18 months, and we talked a lot about, hey, how did the landscape change when governments told us, hey, we need to work from home? What does it mean for all of us? So what a lot of people did is they put their systems, which were in the offices, directly to the internet, because whenever they moved at a different place, like their home, they still needed to have access to their systems. So the main concern, for example, was availability. So when I use search engines, which are publicly available on the internet, and for example, search for remote desktop, I see a lot of machines all over the place, which have certain kind of services enabled, that if I know the username, the password, and the IP address, I can then directly connect to them as long as I have internet connectivity. So you see worldwide, we have more than 4 million devices which are directly connected to the internet with this remote desktop service. So all I need now is a username and a password for this IP address, and I can log in. So why not we filter a little bit closer and look at all the machines in the Philippines, because this might be a certain country which a threat actor is interested in. Remember the screenshot in the beginning, he's mentioning what kind of geolocation he might be interested in. And we see in the Philippines, we have almost 3.5K devices, which are directly connected to the internet, again, with remote desktop services. So in here, I already find an IP address. Sometimes I find usernames. Sometimes I find the Windows versions. If it's just administrator, it's like a default user. But also sometimes I find machines like this one with a lot of different users. And the more information I can gather about this potential victim, the easier it will be for me as an attacker to get access to this machine. Because if I know there's a Dennis and there's a Josh, when I send an email to Dennis with my phishing attack, I will use the name Josh. So I impersonate his colleague, because these guys already have a trusted relationship with each other. So I will spend a lot of time with open source intelligence, go on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and find out as much as possible about these individuals, what their personal hobbies are, where are their interests, and then try to send a very sophisticated phishing email, which once they see it for the first time, it seems quite legitimate. Then maybe adding a document, which I've shown earlier, and then try to capture their attention, or maybe capture their credentials. So for example, what we see very often is people creating phishing attacks. And I want to show how easy it is, for example, to create a phishing attack. Not via email, but just capturing your username and credentials. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a tool which I found publicly available on the internet for educational purposes only. And this allows me to create a phishing website for all these public accounts on the internet. So for example, if my strategy is around Google or Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Spotify, I can create a website in less than 5 minutes who looks very similar, just to capture their credentials. We all live in the business world. A lot of us have LinkedIn. So let's take LinkedIn, for example, in this example. So all I need to do is I select 9, because LinkedIn is number 9 here. And then I wait a couple of minutes, and the tool helps me to create a phishing website, which I can use then to send to my potential victim. So if I open this phishing website, you will see that if you log into LinkedIn, this looks very similar. And if you don't know that, if, for example, if I buy a domain which looks very similar like LinkedIn, maybe add an additional I, so it's not exactly the same domain, but it looks similar. And if I add just some information here, I just use a fake email address, so this one doesn't even exist. Let's say I use a password here, click sign in. You can see, oh, I typo squatted, I'm sorry about that, but you can see I already captured someone's usernames and password. And now thinking back, a lot of people these days, they reuse weak passwords. They reuse the same password for Gmail as for their corporate email, as for their Facebook accounts. And this is a big problem because if you think about it, if I find a machine over here with an IP address, for example, or just take any of these, I already have one of the 3 parts which I need to log in, the IP address. So all I need now is username and password. And if these guys, which I found over here, which I just sent a phishing attack to, send me their credentials while I trick them, I can use this information to log in into their systems. I do not have any permission to interact with this client. So what I'll show you next is how I set it up in my own lab, because here I have the permission to do whatever I want. So I created 2 files, a username and a password list, because usually they try out multiple different combinations with usernames and passwords. Maybe they bought some sold credentials on the darknet. Maybe they create their own password files, which information they captured from their phishing attacks. And then they try every single combination with each other to log in. Because in this case, we already know the IP address here, and we know the username. So all there's left is a password. So if I would attack this machine, my username list here would be Josh, Dennis, Eman, etc., etc. You get the point. And all I have to do next is pick potential passwords and run a tool which uses my username, my password, and the victim IP. So the only thing which is missing is the password, and I just tried to guess it. And computers these days are super powerful. They can do 10,000s, 100,000s of combinations simultaneously. And sooner than later, if you use a weak password or use a password which have been leaked in the past on a different site which got hacked, they can use this information and then log into your system very easily. They just have the username, the password, and the IP address, and they can use this for remote desktop. And now they have access again to your same machine, which might be your corporate laptop. So they will use this machine then to move around in your network, maybe find additional computers in the corporate network, and then start deploying the ransomware. The last thing I want to show is what happens if I open this file, because we haven't seen the impact yet. So what I prepared is a machine here on my attacking side who's just waiting until someone opens this document. So we see here, I'm waiting until someone opens it. So once I double click this file, we will see again our enable content. And this looks pretty legitimate. It looks like, hey, Windows Defender, the document is protected. So all I need to do is click enable content, right? So let me move this a little bit here to the right, click enable content. And if I did everything correctly, I should get a connection here on the left side. As we see, I do. And now I completely own this machine. I can do whatever I want. I can, for example, record the microphone or the webcam. And that's what threat actors are sometimes doing, because they might see you do something which embarrasses yourself, and then they blackmail you with you pay $100 or I sent this with your coworkers. Maybe they do some screen share or some key scans. So it's like a keylogger where they capture every single keystroke which you do. So they know when you go to Amazon, Lazada.com and buy some stuff online, they know again your username, your password. But they can also use these systems to create new files and directories. Let me just do a new directory, which is called test. If I go back to my Windows machine and close it here, we should see a new directory popping up soon on the desktop, which calls test. So these are the capabilities of these attackers. with these tools. And once they have access to these machines, they start moving laterally through the network and start deploying their ransomware into your systems. And that's how the initial access is usually working with during these attacks. And I showed you a couple of different attacks, and we spent less than 25 minutes since we started this session right now. And hopefully I was able to show you how easy it is for threat actors to do some very basic attacks and sometimes get lucky and get initial access to someone's computer and then maybe find other people in the network. Maybe they find the database server, the financial information, and spend quite a lot of time in your network without anyone knowing it before they mapped out the whole network, maybe 3 months later, 2 weeks later, it depends on the size of the company. And then simultaneously, they drop the ransomware. And that's usually when people are like, oh, wait, we got hacked. But what they're missing is they got hacked way back in the past. They just didn't know about it. And once the ransomware drops, everyone knows about it because they let you know, hey, you got hacked, please pay us the money.
That was amazing, Jonas. We used to do that in my younger days, showing people how things are done in creating all these malwares and having the victims connect to our attacker machines. But it's very different now because before very few are the attacks are not yet directed to our subscribers, to our users. Unlike today, we're in the big enterprises are constantly being targeted. But what differs since the pandemic started, when people started to work from home, do online learning, all the kids are spending more time online compared before. So everyone became a target because all of us, we have our own each our personal information, and personal information is being traded in the dark web, right? Someone's stealing because someone is buying. And before I forget, Jonas is joined by Mr. Louis Castañeda, the country head of Fortinet Philippines. Brother Louis, thank you for this opportunity. And for on the PICSPro side, I'm joined by two lovely ladies. The both are board members, and I'm currently vice president for finance, Ms. Sheila Vasquez, and also the vice president. Although this is still to be formally notified to Ms. Mia, but she will be handling our PICSPro Cares program. So this PICSPro Cares program, Jonas, is very is connected to the ransomware attacks towards the consumers, because we want our community to understand how dangerous it is to become a victim of hacking, because in Tagalog we call it wala kang magagawa. There's nothing you can do when you are targeted. There's nothing you can do. And good afternoon to our viewers. Please ask questions. Magtanong po kayo kung meron kayong karanasan na naging biktima ng ransomware. Kung meron kayong question. We have our members from the Republika ng Katagalugan PICSPro chapters, and others are also watching, friends and everyone. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Okay, so I guess now you are ready to answer questions, Mr. Jonas?
Sure, let's go.
Okay, so how old are you again?
I'm early 30s.
Early 30s. So I'm just 1 year older than you. I mentioned that earlier, right? Right, Sheila? Okay. VP Sheila, do you have a...
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair. So thank you, Jonas, and thank you, Louis, for sponsoring our Kwentuhang Cybersecurity today. I have a question from Ms. Perag Liza. So she's asking, if the suggested passwords when you create, is it any better? You know, usually the system or the application will suggest a password, right? Like a strong password. Is it any better, or is there a better way, you know, of making passwords? Because we saw in your example, the passwords is easily guessed.
Yeah. Also, corporations require like you changing your password all 3 months or add a special character in the number. But these are usually patterns which a lot of humans are doing the same. So let's say you need to change your password. A lot of people are doing, if it was a 1 before, it's a 2 the next time. Or if it's one special character, you take the same one, but the second time. So what I usually recommend is you should use completely random passwords. So for example, a password manager allows you to remember one password, which is your master password. And I like passphrase better. So for example, a very long sentence with special character, and you just need to remember this one. And whenever you log into a different website, you just ask your password manager, please create me a new unique random password, which is 16 or 20 digits long. And you will not remember it because it will automatically be stored in your password manager. And whenever you need to log in, you will use your main password to get access to your newly created password. And this is how you have very much unique passwords for all these different websites. And even let's say this is a website like social media and it got hacked. And then a couple of years later, people can buy it on the darknet. It's not a lot of value because you hopefully changed it in the meantime. And this unique password is not reused for example, your Google account or for other services which you use on a daily basis.
That's good. Yep, I do agree. And one of our viewers also mentioned use passphrase.
Yeah.
So it's longer.
Yeah.
It's longer.
And
we have a question. This is a very good question from Miss Kat. No, for ransomware, if you are victimized, do you pay or do you not pay?
So this is a really difficult question, and even in the security industry, there are people say you should never pay because paying is funding this industry, which is then able to go even bigger attacks, buy more sophisticated software. And then on the other hand, you have people arguing with, hey, if corporations don't pay, maybe hundreds of people lose their job because the business goes bankrupt. So this is something which is very difficult to answer. And what I think is important that every company asks these questions to them by themselves before anything happens. So have a plan, do some round tables in your managed meetings, do some tabletop exercises where you come up with a plan. Hey, if we get ever hacked, what do we do? Should we pay? Should we not pay? What kind of policies do we have? Because you don't have access to your systems in the meantime. So you will have a plan in advance. And once bad things happen, you are already prepared. But paying or not paying is a very difficult question. And I don't think there's a generic answer just to say this is what you should do or what you should not do.
Agree. Again, no. Well, it's like have a comprehensive compromise assessment even before the ransomware infection, of course. So what we do in our organization is we run scenarios of different scenarios in ransomware, and we make sure that we are able to bring back the services or whatever that is. Not necessarily bringing back the infected device, but the service that we are providing. Now, if in a scenario we are able to identify an unacceptable length of time, then that is the time we notify the top management and tell them that we might have a scenario in this case, etc., etc. But that's long before a ransomware, of course. VP Sheila, before we go to VP Mia.
I have a follow-up question on what Ms. Kat asked. No? So thank you for your answer, Jonas. I guess the question that I have, I saw your slide a while ago that the victim is actually negotiating with the cyber criminal or the cyber terrorist, which puts us in an ethical dilemma, right? My question is, how do we ensure that these attackers will not resell that data, how they breach this particular after paying, no, the victim pays, and then, because they are criminals, we don't have that certainty that they will not sell it to another criminal, so that they will teach that criminal how to attack the organization.
That's
So what are your thoughts on this?
It's a really good point, because it's not like we make a deal and if they don't accept it, we go after them, because they are already criminals to begin with and we don't know them. So we kind of need to trust here, but also talking about the negotiation, I think what's interesting, there are companies out there and their whole business model is helping during ransomware negotiations. So it really shows already in what kind of time we are living that there are a lot of companies who do nothing else than ransomware negotiations. And from my experience, what I have seen, a lot of these ransomware groups, they are actually very honest when it comes to not selling this, how they get access to your data and actually deleting it once you paid, because they have a reputation and they want to make sure their reputation is very clean and they are known to be a very professional, even though criminal ransomware group. But once you pay, they delete your data, they leave you alone, they don't sell it to other ransomware groups, because they want to make sure that in the future, if they blackmail someone else, this guy is not telling them, hey, you promised not to sell it anyway, but you did. So yeah, but in the end, we can't do much, and we kind of need to trust if we decide to pay. What do you think, Angel?
I remember the saying, there's no honor among thieves, but there is actually honor among cyber thieves.
Yeah, that's a good one. I need to remember this one.
And they have
Yeah,
a
because
reputation.
when first time it came out, where fraudulent credit cards are being sold in the dark web. There is a money back guarantee there, that when the card that you bought is not working, just tell them, and then they'll give back your money. Although I never tried it, but I just read that the conditions, that there is a money back guarantee. And maybe we our viewer, we have a viewer from Zamboanga, Sibugay, Mr. Marvin Palcasantos Baviera. That's my cousin. Yan ang cousin natin sa Mindanao. So we are live all over the Philippines, Jonas. You're being watched in my favorite hometown.
By the way, I love what you do here with PICSPro. Like, spreading the awareness, in my opinion, is one of the most important things, because we need to educate people. And it's, as you mentioned earlier, it's something which everyone who has a smartphone today, has a computer, so it affects all of us. So what you guys are doing is amazing. And the more people we can getting trained and increase the awareness, the better the whole cybersecurity environment will be in the future.
Thank you very much, Jonas. We try to improve every Friday.
Yeah, it's great.
We try to improve every Friday, and but the topics so far are, and of course the resource speakers, they've been very brilliant and very interesting for the community. And after this session, this video will stay in the Facebook page of PICSPro. And so far, for the past sessions, it's the engagement and the views, the number of views are growing by the hundreds on a weekly or daily basis. So you will be watched more often after the session. VP Mia, would you like to pitch in?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. And Jonas, thank you for joining us today. I heard you're based from the US. Am I right?
I'm actually based in Singapore, originally from Switzerland. So I moved to Singapore from Switzerland.
Okay, I thought you woke up very early for us.
No. We actually live in the same time zone, which is very convenient.
Yeah, great. So maybe just a question that our viewers would like to know. For this ransomware, what is the possible impact in terms of on business? That's one. On society, and then perhaps on the economy.
So on business, it can completely kill a business. Let's imagine you do all your transactions online and you don't have the backups available, and someone encrypts all your data, and you cannot send out invoices, so your customers cannot pay you, you lose your customers, you don't know how to interact with them anymore, and every single day you lose a lot of money, but also trust from your customers, because they think, hey, you didn't take security, you didn't put security on top of priority, and you have our data, so I don't really want to deal with you anymore. So from a business point of view, it can really be you getting out of business if you don't take it seriously. For society, it's also a big problem, because sometimes if, for example, certain kind of companies get hacked, which have a big impact in the transportation industry, we might have not enough resources available at later stages. And just earlier this year, we have seen the Colonial Pipeline attack in the US, where the whole gas industry in the US, a very big supplier, was hacked. So the prices spiked immediately, and people were scared of not getting enough oil anymore. Same with food supply. And this can have a really big impact for all of us. And then last but not least, more and more things are being connected with the internet. Everything moves towards software, which makes our life very convenient and more enjoyable, in my opinion. But it also means whatever is directly connected to the internet will be attacked. And if not properly secure, it will be hacked for sure.
That's scary, but that's a reality. You assume breach.
Yeah.
You assume that you are compromised, which brings us to the question of Joshua. No? Is there a way to find out if someone is connected to your computer? Ooh, that's scary, eh?
Yeah, it is. And that's why, in my opinion, not only prevention is very important in corporate networks, but also detection. So let's imagine you have in your network, you have all these IoT devices. Maybe you have even a smart TV or your laptops, and you see a connection going to a country which you have never seen before. Let's imagine you only do business in the Philippines, for example. And now you see your smart TV tries to make a connection to, let's say, Russia, for example, or just pick any other random country. Now you need to follow up on this. Hey, why is this connection happening? Why are there maybe data being exfiltrated to a location which I have no business in building a connection to begin with? So the monitoring part is actually very important, because we saw in the presentation earlier that threat actors, they spend a lot of time in corporate networks before they go for the kill. So detection is almost as much important as prevention is, because there's no 100% security that you will not get breached. But the key here is to find it out as fast as possible, and then isolate the devices, clean up, and kick the attacker out of your network before the ransomware is actually happening.
I think that's a very practical proposal or suggestion. Our problem there is not very few of our users are not techie, are techie. But majority of our users are really just users. They just want to enjoy what they're having, right? They just want to enjoy the data and the SMS and the social media, which brings me to the question of Pearl Glyza. Can links sent via SMS do harm also, or only web-based links? So if you are sent with a link in your SMS and you click on it, will it do harm to your gadget?
It definitely can. Operating system are getting more and more attacked, because a lot of people are using these devices, for example, for two-factor authentication. So these attackers, they're pretty smart usually, and they always try to be one step ahead of the curve. And they know, hey, people are not only using usernames and passwords, but also a token. So the token is usually on the phone. So what if I get access to the phone and then I can intercept this traffic? So SMS are being used very often, and what I see often is with shipping information. They're like, hey, you will receive your shipment this Friday afternoon. Please click here to double confirm. or any other message. But SMS is a very valid attack vector these days for sure.
Yeah, actually, Angel, I just experienced that precisely.
Wow.
On my mobile phone. I ordered from one of the shops I buy normally my steaks. It's a popular company, and I actually received a message, and it's like, your order's already on its way. Kindly click this link
Wow.
to verify delivery. So I clicked it. Good thing I have my security in my phone, and it actually blocked the link and told me like, this is a malicious link. So kindly delete this. Please do not go to this link. So it's really happening.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why, Jonas, the problem is getting bigger because there is a need for us to not only to educate our community, but to actually help our community to be secure. It's no longer. I mean, we can do this every day or every Friday. We can advise them what needs to be done and what. But those who are not watching, those who are not with us, will be victimized. Uh, a technical guy like Louis, no, because he ordered something and he received an SMS that is related to his order. Actually, almost fell victim to this kind of attack. And this is in relation to the comment of Mr. Tom Hamilton Clancy, or Tom Clancy. Oh, what a nice name! Sir, how to secure if we are connected around the world? Do you have an answer to that, Jonas?
That's a good point. People are moving all over the places. They sometimes spend time on different locations. So there are certain things which we can make sure to be a little bit more protected. For example, connecting to public wireless. So if you're on an airport or on a Starbucks, you need to imagine if you access a guest network, everyone else in this area can access this guest network. So just keep in mind, if you're on the same network, they can start searching who's on the same network, what are they doing. Maybe they try to do some sniffing to understand what kind of websites you use, credentials. And what I usually recommend is software like VPNs, for example, where hey, wherever I am, I build a trusted connection to my office environment, and then all the traffic will go through them. But I do understand that it's not always that easy, especially if we want to do something, let's say, privately, and we don't want to go always with our whole traffic to our corporate networks. But I think the most important part here is that I, for example, never ever do anything sensitive on a public network. So if I need to do banking transactions, please don't do it on public networks. So if you need to log into social media accounts, again, please make sure you have unique accounts just in case if someone is able to access it, it's not valuable information for other different social websites. So we just need to take care in general. But again, the landscape and the attack surface is so big. So protecting it against anything and making sure we are 100% secure is almost impossible in these environments, unfortunately.
What I do, in addition to that, what I do is, I think almost every Filipino have two mobile phones. We all have two or even three mobile phones. So what I do is, the other one is where I install my apps and whether banking or social media. But the one-time password or the one-time PIN that will be sent by my bank, for example, goes to my other phone, goes to my other number. So if the other phone is stolen, because there's no other way for them to compromise me but to steal the gadget, if they get one phone, then I still have the other phone for verification, and they cannot enroll this phone that they got because they will also need verification. So something like that. However, if two of my phones will be stolen, I think that's already stupid on my part, right? So that is not. I did not read that in any books, but it's just a personal strategy. If if you get, it's like having keys. No, you don't want three the same keys for the same locks are located in one keychain. You want other keys to be parked in other areas. Very nice. This is a very good discussion, Jonas. And we have a comment from Miss Victoria Casipit. So thanks so much, PICSPro, for this weekly live sessions. Very informative. Thank you, Miss Victoria, for being with us. Every Friday, you'll have more information coming from different experts. And we also have a comment from Mr. Mike Angelo Patrido. So thank you so much for this. This is why cybersecurity awareness is really important. But Mr. Mike, we would like to challenge you. Whatever lessons or learnings you acquire from this session, please disseminate to your friends. Please share to your friends whatever small learning you can get from this session, because it would help a lot. It would really help a lot. VP Mia, do you have more questions there? We still have at least 5 minutes before we wrap up.
Yes. So in case you are compromised, or you're an owner of a company and you were compromised, what should be done first? And if in case, the hackers were able to get access to customer data, or if it's a hospital, a patient data, or even just, employee data, what should they do?
Yes, this is definitely a scenario where it will be very helpful if we ask these questions before it happens. So we come up with a plan, and we have like policies. Who is responsible for what kind of workflows now? How do we make sure we get with our legal team in touch? Because that's where legal is very important. How do we deal with our customer? How do we disclose it to the public? Usually it's about getting help from people who are experts in that field and know how to deal with it, because during these times, things get very heated and a lot of people are like screaming around, things are not working, being maybe a little bit more aggressive than usual. And then if everything goes wild, it's very difficult to make calm decisions and good decisions. So preparing for these events in advance is very important, and then immediately involve your legal team and follow the procedures and processes which you planned to begin with. Well, what do you think, Angel?
I agree again. I do agree. Exactly what every company needs to develop as early as yesterday, and they need to have a plan. Everyone needs to assume that we will be compromised, if not today, tomorrow, if not tomorrow, then the next day, or as long as when that day comes, you have a plan to execute. And it's not enough to just have a plan. You need to practice the plan. You need to do a we call it in our organization, we call it the Cyber D-Day exercise. Because we are a critical infrastructure, we need to be very ready about all these things. Otherwise, a lot of organizations will be affected. So yes, you need to have a plan. I think we still have Mia, do you still have a few more questions there?
Maybe, sir, just curious. Can ransomware encrypt an encrypted file?
Yes, so usually what happens once ransomware is executed, it encrypts all your files and keeps them where they are, but you cannot access them anymore unless you have the decryption key. So it's a very efficient way for attackers to blackmail you, because you still keep the data, but not accessible anymore. Imagine you have a bicycle and you drive around the city and you park it somewhere in front of Starbucks and you put a lock around it. 2 hours later, you leave, and now you have even a bigger lock around it from someone else. And even though you unlock your lock, you cannot use your bicycle anymore because someone put it there. And maybe he puts a note, hey, please send this amount of money to this address, and I will tell you where the key is so you can get your bicycle back. So it's a very difficult situation, because if you don't do it, you probably don't see your bicycle anymore unless you find another way to encrypt the data, which might be also dangerous, because if you're not careful, you maybe corrupt your own data, and even if you get the key back, it's not possible to access it anymore. So it's unfortunately something very, very difficult to deal with.
That's a very that's a very interesting and very simple example. So for the bikers who are listening right now, it's not your problem. It's not really. It's not just people who are who will try to steal your bike and unlock your whatever lock you put there, but it's actually putting a bigger lock where that's a good one, Jonas. I like that. Sheila?
Yeah, so more of curiosity, and the question can be answered by anyone. I've been hearing a lot of companies looking into getting cyber insurance. What are your thoughts around it? And maybe you can share examples of the coverage. For example, like the Colonial attack, they paid $4 million. Is this something that can be covered if you are having cyber insurance, for example?
Jonas?
Yeah, I can go first. So cyber insurance is an interesting topic, and I want to elaborate two things. So in my opinion, it's always important to go against the root problem. And buying insurance is not really solving the problem of you having weak security. It's solving the problem someone else pays the money for you. So what if, for example, it's not just about paying someone so you get your data back? What if they steal your cutting edge research and sell it to someone else? So intellectual property. So it only solves half of the problem. And the other interesting part, which I've seen recently, is attackers, again, super smart. So what do? They hack the insurance players first. Now they have a customer list who has cyber insurance, and then they will hack these companies because they know they will pay very quickly because they have insurance. So it's for them, it's all about return of investment. And insurance is always also a difficult problem. What if you did not do like your best practice as the insurance expected you to do it? So on one hand, it can help financially, that you might be able to not pay the big amount by yourself. But I'm always a big fan of trying to solve the root cause. And cyber insurance is, in my opinion, not solving the root cause of cybersecurity.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one. And it's not just big enterprises. I mean, those who are working from home. For example, even those who are doing work for a company abroad, like the medical, what you call that, Louis? Those who write down medical transcriptions.
Yeah, medical transcription. Yeah.
Yep. So if that laptop, the one laptop that they are using is compromised by a ransomware, that's already, and they get paid by the hour or by the day, right? So one day that they are not working is a one day not earning anything. And if it becomes 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 1 month, then that's already a big problem for the family of that person, right? Because the big companies probably can pay insurance, and then talk about the problem later. But for small employees, for people like doing a daily wage jobs, right? It's a big problem. And if you have millions of these people and they all of them get compromised, then you will have a problem, a government problem, a national problem, an economic security problem. Right? It's even a bigger problem than the pandemic. And your example, Jonas, about the bigger bicycle padlocks. I think everybody understood, and everybody loves that example. It's a very good example, actually. You if you're a biker, or if you're someone who is putting something and putting a padlock on it, and somebody even your gate, probably when others will put a bigger locks, you cannot get out, or you cannot go in. Okay, can you comment? We have let's have this last question. It's already 6:01, but this is a problem with cybersecurity, especially with ransomware. You can talk about this all day, and it's still interesting that the next day. So, can you comment on the cybersecurity maturity here in the Philippines, especially in our government agencies? Well, I can, but I don't think my comment will be based on data or based or comprehensive enough, because I have not seen nor assessed documents that are coming from. So probably we just hope that the government is doing a lot and really improving about the state of our cybersecurity. But maybe Ben, we will invite someday. No, we will invite one of the cybersecurity leaders in the government to talk about that. That's gonna be an interesting 1 hour topic. Okay, I don't want to hold you guys any longer. Jonas, do you have last words for our viewers? No, what can you what advice can you give them, short, so that it can something that can that they can remember?
Just remember, if you put something on the internet, it will be attacked very quickly. And if you have that in mind, then proper security is important. But I also want to say thank you again to you, Angel, for inviting me. It's an honor to be part of it. And I watched so many of the recent episodes and will watch the future ones. So keep doing what you guys are doing. It's amazing. And hopefully when this whole pandemic is over, I can come over to the Philippines and we see us all in person and have a good time.
You know, Jonas, we don't have a PICSPro Singapore chapter yet.
So you come over to Singapore. That's even better.
Yep. So activate that chapter there, and we'll be there very soon. Louis, thank you very much. Do you have anything that you can give our viewers?
Sure. Quickly, I guess now the viewers realize the importance of awareness and education. So they really need to know what's happening around them, and they have to be aware on what they're doing, and also that they need to be secure in all the things that they do, accessing internet, clicking links especially, and also doing email. If you have to really look at how you use these tools, and also about the password. That's very critical. You really have to consider what kind of passwords you actually use in your respective devices. That's it.
All right, VP Sheila.
Yes, so I guess it's the same as the advice that we've given all along. Always be paranoid or on the side of caution. Always check and verify.
Amen to that. And Miss Mia?
Totally agree, sir. And let's continue sharing. And I hope that because sir, there are a lot of viewers who's asking how can they be a member. So I guess we'll be sending them direct messages.
Yes, wherever you are in the country, we mentioned in our past session that we will be activating soon the Davao City chapter, and we just activated very recently the La Union chapter, or reactivated actually. And for my last words, I'm going to borrow what Renzo Casabuena said in his comment, that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. We cannot afford to be siloed in this fight against cybersecurity. Whether you are a parent, whether you are a young kid, or whether you are a techie guy, whether you are whoever you are in the government, in big corporations, you are a probable victim. We all are. So in anything you do in cyberspace, in anything you receive, do not trust. Never trust. SMS that you receive with links, don't trust. Emails with links, don't trust. Emails with attachment, don't trust. Zero trust, but verify. Okay? Don't just say don't trust. You verify. If it's your friend, call your friend. If it's your office mate, then ask your office mate if he or she is sending you something. So don't be a victim or refuse to become the victim. So maraming salamat ulit, and this is another very interesting Kwentuhang Cybersecurity. We will see you all again in our next session next Friday. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Happy weekend sa inyong lahat.
Happy weekend.
Pero sa cybersecurity
Thank
professionals,
you guys.
happy lang kami, walang weekend. All right, Jonas, thank you. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jonas. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Safe.